whatever. Like Arden Key doesn't listen to like crunk music. He listens to R&B music before games, which is wild to me. I've never heard that in my life. I've got one other person that has ever done that, and that was in college. A guy named Ronnie Totley. He listened to R&B music, and it kind of shocked me. It blew me away. I'm like, okay, you really listen to this before we play a game, huh? But
Yeah.
yeah,
And Arden Key is a linebacker, so I would definitely feel like he would be trying to pump himself up. If I had to pick a player or position that I thought would be listening to R&B, it would probably be more of a receiver or a
hmm
quarterback, like a skill position. From your perspective, how does music set the tone in the NFL locker room? So you being in the locker room, you're kind of hearing what's going on. How is music setting the tone in the locker room, in your opinion?
well, it's interesting. You have some players that like to listen to R&B music to calm the nerve. Like Arden Key doesn't listen to like crunk music. He listens to R&B music before games, which is wild to me. I've never heard that in my life. I've got one other person that has ever done that, and that was in college. A guy named Ronnie Totley. He listened to R&B music, and it kind of shocked me. It blew me away. I'm like, okay, you really listen to this before we play a game, huh? But
Yeah.
yeah,
And Arden Key is a linebacker, so I would definitely feel like he would be trying to pump himself up. If I had to pick a player or position that I thought would be listening to R&B, it would probably be more of a receiver or a
hmm
quarterback, like a skill position and all of that. Linebackers, I feel like their goal is to knock heads off, so I feel like they would be listening to Head Buster. Um,
now I will say this: listening to some of what the players listen to, like they play the players' playlist during warm-ups before the games. I don't think a
mhm.
lot of fans pay attention to when they're listening to these songs. They're listening to the actual players' playlist, and they'll put up there what player came up with this song or what player is on their playlist. And this is one that's going to crack you up. Johnny Hekker, the kicker, he
Mhm.
out there listening to Snoop Dogg and Dre. They put it up. I was like, hold up, this is the kicker listening to this. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't expect the kicker to go back to the '90s with Snoop Dogg and Dre. But yeah,
Yeah.
he was listening. I was thrown away. I was blown away by that. I did not expect it.
And see, I can see a kicker listening to R&B because they have to be cool and level-headed. Snoop and Dre seems like it would get you too hyped to get out there and kick. But I like it. I like the fact that especially younger generations, they don't necessarily like they have their own, of course, artists and things like that, but they're more open to listening to older music. And I'll say that's probably the benefit to streaming. They're discovering music in real time and not necessarily this is what's out, so I have to listen to it now. They can discover something that came out 25 years ago and be like, "Ooh, I like this," and then it's in their playlist. So it's cool that he bumping some Snoop and Dre.
I'll,
So
I'll
now,
give you
go
this.
ahead.
I'll give you this though too. The one thing I will say about players and just from being a former player all the way through college is that you don't want to listen to music that's going to get you too hype, where you basically run out of energy within the first what quarter of the game because you got to have energy for the rest of the game. But you want to have music to get you to that edge at least, or get you to that zone. Like to give you an example, my first game I played in high school, in terms of my first start ever, junior in high school. I'm listening to Big Ed. Do you remember who Big Ed was when he was with No Limit? He
Mhm.
had one album. I listened to that entire album before I made my first start ever in high school football. Had 10 tackles and interception. I still remember that game like it was yesterday. 10 tackles, interception, and we won the game. And it was pouring down raining. Literally, where I can remember that because I can remember myself walking around the locker room listening to the Big Ed soundtrack, which a Big Ed, sorry, album, which probably no one ever even remembers that he was even with No Limit at all. But yeah, I do, and I remember that album. That's back when Master P would have had an album, and then he'd have Coming Soon and all the little cases of different artists that would be coming next.
Mhm. So You feel like if a artist, not an artist, if a player gets too hype, then they use all of that adrenaline very early in the game. So they have to listen
Mhm.
to something that's gonna help even that adrenaline out through all 4 quarters. Interesting. Because like when I played softball, there was a playlist that I had. Like there was a part of my pregame ritual. And I felt like, I mean, superstition, but baseball is superstitious. I feel like softball is almost as superstitious as baseball, if not just as superstitious. So that's when I first started wearing hat. Like I've always worn hats, but if I didn't wear a hat in the game, I felt like it was bad luck. So now I wear hats because it's like I don't wear the same hat, but it's like my lucky hat, so to speak, when I put on the hat. Um,
Mhm.
and then I had a playlist that I had, and my junior year, it might have been my senior year, it had like Uchi Wally on there, it had some Lil Jon on there. I'm
Yeah.
trying to think of what else was on there. I think some Nelly, some Ja Rule. All of that was popular back then. I know what's that, 50 Niggas Deep? That was on there. And then Mr. Biggs. Mr. Biggs in the
Yeah.
show talking
Yeah.
about these. So I
Yep.
can kind of see that because it was a balanced playlist, but I'm also like Arden Key. I can listen to R&B and be like, and let's go lift weights.
Mhm.
um, so
Yeah, I
yeah.
couldn't do that. Mm-mm. Not back then. Nah. Well, I would say this: as you get older, like high school, you can listen to crunk music and you can carry that probably over more quarters with the amount of energy and adrenaline that you have. But as you
Mm.
get older, like college and then get to the pros, that point you're kind of like, yeah, I can't really carry all this energy through 4 quarters. I gotta mess around and I gotta mess around, balance this out because I mean I still remember players talking about getting too hyped for games, and then by the time they're done with the first quarter or they get their first time out, they're really really winded and trying to find their way back to some balance of okay, I'm just playing a game.